day-to-day, my role at Microsoft is a cloud solution architect, but also community being a big thing. I run a YouTube. So if you want to connect with me, you can find me as Damien Bird 365 and learn from one of my 200 plus videos that I now have on my channel. So today's session is really all about Code Interpreter. And this is my slide deck. The end. That's it, I'm afraid. I am going to attempt a fully live demo today. That's what I like doing. So it could go right, it could go wrong, but I'm going to hopefully take you through what Code Interpreter is, and what better way to start that idea off is to start in Copilot. So I've decided that today I want to demonstrate Code Interpreter in prompts. And my use case is I have a CSV file that's coming into an automation, into a cloud flow. I want a prompt to look at that CSV to identify specific transactions. They relate to pending payments for invoices or accounts payable. And within that CSV, there's going to be some data that could be could result in transactions being overdue, and manually I'll go and mark them as overdue. And I might want to also highlight transactions greater than $2.5 grand. So this is my thought process when I was speaking to Copilot 365, and it gave me some various options and it gave me a lovely little flow chart. But ultimately, this is what I'm hoping to build. An email comes in, a CSV will be contained within it. We'll pass that CSV to a prompt. The prompt will turn that CSV into an Excel file. It'll also generate a chart, all magically within a prompt, and that will be the power of Code Interpreter. That's the hope. So a link for Code Interpreter, definitely some good content on what it's all about and what it can do. And Code Interpreter can be available in prompts in the Power Platform, but it's also available in declarative agents or declarative agents, depending on how you say it. This I keep me right, in the Copilot Studio Lite, and it's also available in Copilot Studio Full as well. And there is a difference between the Code Interpreter experience in prompts versus Copilot Studio. Prompts is very much vibe coded. Python, it's written once, it runs once, and or I say runs once, it runs the same code again and again. It's not editable. If you're doing it in your agents, the code is written in real time. But it can take Excel, it can take Word, PDFs, etc. It can output Excel files, which is quite exciting. It can output images, which is what I'm going to demonstrate today. And it can also write to Dataverse as well using the Web API. So there's an awful lot of stuff that you can do with this. If you want to go and play with it and you're finding that it says it's blocked, you might need to jump across into the Power Platform Admin Center and go to Copilot Settings, and you will see there is a code generation and execution in Copilot Studio setting. So if it's disabled, you might need to ask your Power Platform admin to go and enable it. It's on an environment by environment basis. Right, now we're going to go and build it, hopefully. So I'm over on Copilot Studio, and what I'm going to kick off with is to create a prompt. I have built this earlier, so if it all falls over, then I have got a working version of it, but let's build it and see what goes wrong and learn together. So over in Tools, I can create a new tool and I can create a prompt. And that prompt, it is very much like what you might send to, say, ChatGPT or Copilot, and this is reusable. So every time that you call this prompt, it will rerun this exact prompt. And so I have one that I provided, or that I wrote earlier. I want you to analyze this CSV data using Python and output as Excel, where there is a tab for each department, and highlight any row that is overdue in red, any that exceed 2.5 thousand, highlight in orange. So remember these colors: red is overdue, orange is over 2.5 thousand. And then as a separate output, I would like a bar chart. Now, that is my prompt. Before I go and save it or test it, we need to go into this more setting, this 3 dots, the ellipsis. And under here, you've got settings. And we have the ability to enable Code Interpreter. And this is where you might hit the block if it's not been enabled on your admin center. So I can toggle that on. That's now enabling Python in my prompts. And in addition to what I've written here, I also need to pass in an input parameter. So I'm actually going to delete CSV, use a / and provide text as an input, because a CSV is plain text. It can also accept files as inputs. And then I need some sample data. And again, because I want to sort of highlight how I use Copilot, I'm going to pop open Copilot on the right-hand side, because I need some sample CSV data for my demo. So using something, if this is going to let me paste, oh dear, demo gods, are they going to get me? Nope, there we go. I've pasted in a prompt that I've written earlier to generate a sample CSV file for my accounts payable data, and it should include various fields. And if I hit send, remember this isn't me using prompts in Copilot Studio or in Power Platform. This is me using Copilot to do 10 times more to produce a CSV file. And we should now, hopefully, off the back of this, get me a CSV file. It's spinning at the moment. And I hope it's going to give me a sample CSV. If it doesn't, I do have one I prepared earlier. So let's see what's going to happen. It's spinning, it's spinning. I'm going to, oh, there we go. Download the sample. I can open up the file and I have my sample file. Okay, so I can copy this, my sample file for my demo that I'm doing, and I can provide that sample data here, which should now allow me to test my new prompt that I've written. And when I test it over on the right-hand side, it should give me some sample output, both an Excel file with the breakdown that I've asked for, but also a bar chart of the monthly invoice amounts for all the transactions on the file. So over on the right-hand side, it's thinking. It's also writing some Python to perform these these requirements that are in my prompt. And if I toggle to documents and images, there we go, good. Hopefully everyone saw that. I toggled to documents and images. We now have two sample files. We've got an invoice a report Excel file, which I can download and open. And if we remember those colors, it was red for overdue, and it was orange for anything over 2,500. This is literally live, and this is how it works, and it's doing stuff, which is good. But also you'll see down the bottom, we've got separate tabs depending if it's marketing, finance, HR. So I've got the finance transactions. There are 2 that are overdue. There are 3 that are clearly over 2,500. Again, HR, IT, operations. So I'm quite happy with the way that that particular prompt is run. And if I download also this PNG file and open that up as well, that gives me my totals on a month-by-month basis. So August, September, October, and November, my bar chart of invoice amounts as a summary. That's thankfully what I was hoping for. But what I want to highlight is, again, on this toggle at the top, the text, I can go into code view, and this is my Python. So this is the stuff that's been vibe coded by my prompt, and this is the stuff that will run again and again and again. So I'm going to give it a name, which is my accounts payable prompt, and we'll call it 1811. So hopefully I can find it and I'll save it. This is saving to Power Platform. It's in my particular environment that I'm working on right now. And you can see out of the box, it's asking me, do I want to add it to an agent? But no, because today what I want to do is I want to build a flow. As much as I'd like to build an agent, I'm going to build a flow for you. So over into flows, and the idea behind my process was I'm going to have a CSV file that's going to come into a shared mailbox. It's a legacy system, and that legacy system is monitoring my shared mailbox. And when an email arrives in my shared mailbox has an email address, RFI, and I'm going to put in place a subject filter. Now, you might want to do this in real life, because if you've got lots of different emails coming into your mailbox, you don't want it triggering on every single email that comes in. So I'm going to call this my, what am I going to call it? My invoice demo for the subject filter. So only anything that comes into my mailbox with invoice demo will it trigger. So with that in place, it is going to trigger on invoice demo. I can also put a filter in place so that it'll only trigger on emails with attachments. You can include attachments, but I would argue, if you read the docs, it's not the best practice. Instead, I'm going to use an action to get attachments. And we can see we've got get attachment v2 here, and then just go through filling out all the dynamic content. So if I want to search for message ID, I can put in place the message ID. We're going to see something magical in a minute. So if you keep an eye on this space here, we're going to see that when I select the attachment ID, like so, ping, it chucks me into an apply to each, because the data that comes into the trigger for when an email arrives is an array or a table of one or many attachments. So that's why we automatically get thrown into this loop. Because I'm doing a shared mailbox, I need to go and tick this box here and insert RFI, like so. So that's me now getting the attachments. And then what I'd like to do is I would like to run a prompt. So let's go and have a look for run a prompt, like so. Okay, so we've now got our run a prompt, and I have my accounts payable prompt for the 18th and the 11th. You can see I did some practice earlier on with the other one underneath. And it's exactly the same prompt that I've just built for you, and I need to pass in the CSV data. So with the get attachment, this is going to get the content of the attachment, and then in the CSV input, I can go and search for content bytes, like so. And this is where things get very interesting, because the output of the prompt is various texts. I actually want to do parse JSON and all sorts. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make something and break it, and then show you how to make it work. So at the moment, I'm going to send an email, because I want to send an email containing the bar chart that I've created. I will send that to my RFI. So I'm just going through a standard process of, here is your chart, filling out a action for sending an email. Here is your chart, but I'd like to attach that chart as part of this email. If I was to go into the advanced properties for the attachment and attachment file name, and go and have a look at attachment for the dynamic attachment content, this is where I wanted to get to and show you that when I look at the runner prompt, all I have access to is text and finish reason, and there's no see more. And I know that when I tested my prompt earlier, it included a file, both a file for the bar chart, but also a file for the Excel file. So what we need to do is to save, publish, and test this, and then have a look at what's in the input parameters or the output parameters of our action. Right, so I've set up my flow. It's going to trigger based on the subject filter for invoice demo. If I come across into my email, I'll create a new email. We will put in the RFI address. I'll put in the subject, and then I am going to get my sample file that I downloaded a second ago, which will be in my downloads, and attach it. There we go. So that's my CSV file. I can send that across. I hope I put in the right title, did I? So I'm having doubts about myself. Let's see. It should come in. Invoice demo is the subject title. If I come across back onto my flow, I can go into activity. I can see that it's running right now. So my flow is running. An action failed, that's fine, which is what I'd hoped for and expected. My send an email has failed. What I wanted to highlight was in the run a prompt action, we have the raw outputs. And if this loads up for me, yeah, it's loading up for me. Let me zoom in as well. As I scroll down through the content, we'll be able to see that there is actually a files array, and that files array contains base64 for my invoice report and also base64 for my PNG, my image file. Now I'm conscious of time because we have probably about another 5 minutes left of this demo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into the flow that I built earlier, jump into the future and show you what I built earlier in the day, because in there, I've got the same thing as before. When a new email arrives, I've got the for each, I've got the get attachments, I've got the run a prompt. I did a parse JSON using the data that came back from the run a prompt, which allowed me to then write some expressions, which I really wanted to show you. I'm creating a copy of the file that's generated and using a timestamp for the prefix to the file. I'm also converting that base64 that we saw in the sample output so we can create that file. But also I'm using the send an email action. And as I scroll down through that, we can see again the expression that's used to get the last base64 and send that as an attachment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trigger this automation now and show you what the output looks like. So this particular one's got a different subject filter of accounts payable. I'll jump across into my mailbox again, and I will hit that RFI address with that new accounts payable. And also, let me grab a CSV. So I'll bring a CSV across, attach it. You'll see that I've got a SharePoint site. If I do a refresh, magically it's empty at the moment. The hope is I will do my send in my email. This is my legacy process. It's going to send this CSV into my mailbox. And then my hope is over on the activity of this particular flow, it ran last at 1:59 as I was preparing for my next customer demo. And I'm hoping that this particular email, as I speak slower and slower, I see the emails come in, which is good. It should hopefully trigger. Let's check the overview tab. Magically hit the refresh button several times. It will work. I'm confident. Keep clicking it multiple times. And it's worth, I guess, saying at this point, most people think that flows are instant. They are never instant. They actually sit in a workflow queue and can take up to 3 minutes to trigger, which is always ideal in a demo like this. Oh, yes, there we go. It's kicked off. So it started. I had all faith in Power Platform. There we go. It's gone through the process of running a prompt, parsing it, creating a file, sending an email. If I come across into my SharePoint, we can see it's created a file. And if I click on that and open it, I should see similar data as before. It's highlighted transactions that are overdue. And if I go across into different tabs, this is actually a different data set. I have transactions that are over 2.5, and there's one under 2.5. And if I jump across into my email, and there we go, I've got an email that's come in and it's given me a chart containing all of that monthly data using the CSV in my prompt, which is Python in Code Interpreter. So I think that's close to 20 minutes. I invite you to sign up to my YouTube and follow some of my videos where I talk about Copilot Studio and demonstrate some of these capabilities, including the prompts that I've just demonstrated, but all the latest features in Copilot Studio. Over 200 videos now and almost 23,000 subscribers. And thanks very much for the opportunity to demo.